Hi everyone, it's Matt from The Pen Habit. I am glad to be back for another video and glad to talk about another one of the value pens that I have recently acquired. So as I mentioned a couple videos ago, I have been asked repeatedly to do some videos on some less expensive pens because I have been spending a lot of money on pens that I didn't really need to be spending money on, and this is both for you and for me because I'm saving up for a Grail pen and I can't wait to do that video review. It's going to be awesome. I don't have the pen yet, so I have to save up for a little bit longer until I can get it. In the meantime, let's talk about this. This is the Hero 3915. So Hero is another Chinese company. They are also another one of those companies that basically just steals other pen companies' designs. Yeah, I've talked about this before, so I won't go into it too much. I don't particularly care for that, but I did want to review the pen because I know there are a lot of people who will buy the Hero version of the Lamy Safari, although why you'd buy a knockoff of such a crappy pen is beyond me. Just set myself up for flame bait there. But this one, I actually thought the design was kind of interesting and didn't realize it, but I'm pretty sure this is a knockoff of, or kind of an homage, if we're going to be on the positive side, of another fairly well-known pen. So let's walk through the pen itself. So this is the box it comes in. It's cardboard, but stamped to look like leather. Take it off, and inside comes this pen. This is the Hero 3915. And set the box aside. It's pretty unusual for these Chinese pens to come in boxes. A lot of times they just come in a little plastic sleeve, and they just stick it in a padded envelope and send it on your way. But this came in a box. I was kind of surprised by it. It is a sub $10 pen, which is pretty great. And it's a nice, fairly well-made design on the pen. Now you'll notice here, the pen has little arrow fletching, which goes down to an arrow point. And that on the clip here, that's basically the sign of a Parker pen. Now, if my memory serves correctly, Parker had a factory in China that was seized by the Chinese government. And so there are a lot of pens, including Hero pens, or maybe Hero is running that plant now and using a lot of the original equipment. So there are Parker 51 knockoffs that are coming out of China that from Hero, I believe, that are made on actual Parker equipment. So they're basically the same pen. This, I don't believe, is quite the same, but it's got that same design as like a Parker Sonata. But the materials look different than anything that's currently available on the Parker line. Also interesting, I'm not sure why they felt the need to do that, because no one's going to mistake this for a Mont Blanc. But anyway, they put a little design in there. It is not very smooth. It's pretty rough, so just be aware of that. It's looks like stainless steel with a rose gold plated clip. I don't know if that's actually rose gold or some other metal, but it is the color of rose gold. It's got this nice checkerboard, not checkerboard, but like tic-tac-toe board design, perpendicular lines all the way up and down the pen. It does pick up fingerprints very easily, being a stainless steel pen. The center section has some Chinese characters and then says Hero, and then says 9315 engraved there. Cartridge converter pen. You'll see me, I've been rubbing off a little bit of stuff off the pen because it didn't come to me very clean. The pen had a little bit of manufacturing residue on it. So pull the top off the cap. It's got a metal section, which is interesting. Some people really dislike metal sections. I don't get particularly sweaty hands when I write, but for those people who do metal sections, they generally don't care for them. Got the rose goldish band here and again at the end of the pen. Now, one of the things that I find a little disappointing on this pen is the nib. Number 5 size nib, but they did the like gold plating, the bicolor or dual color nib, but they did it with yellow gold instead of rose gold, and so it just looks off. You know, it looks like it doesn't belong on this pen. Frankly, they would have been better off just doing a solid stainless steel nib with no gold on it at all, and it would have fit in much better with the pen. but it does look to be standard number 5 size nib. Normal feed here, little cheap plastic feed, and it is a cartridge converter pen. So pull that off as a Hero branded converter. This converter feels very cheaply made and doesn't seat itself terribly securely on the little post there, but I haven't had any problems with it coming undone as of yet. Metal on metal threads, which is nice, and they feel fairly well manufactured, so they go together pretty smoothly. And yeah, it's a nice solid click on the pen. The cap stays on nice and tight. It's a little bit heavy, but not as bad as you'd think for being a fully metal-bodied pen. Now it is kind of small. It's only 120 millimeters uncapped. It can be posted, and that's 158 millimeters. But it tends to be just a little on the back heavy side because the cap is fairly heavy in its own right. And then capped, it's 137.5 millimeters. So the section is in the middle of the section. It's 9.5 millimeters, which is a nice. It's a little slender for me, but a lot of people really like 9.5. I tend to like between 10 and 11 myself, but this is not uncomfortable for me to use. The barrel is 11.5 millimeters at its widest point, and the cap is at 13 millimeters. And in terms of weight, you are looking at 20 grams, which isn't terrible when uncapped, but when it's posted, it's 32 grams, which explains some of that back heaviness. This is 12 grams by itself. This is 20 grams. The balance is just a little off. So anyway, it's a fairly well-made pen. It certainly looks richer than the under $10 I spent on it. I haven't had it long enough to know if it will last over a long time, or if there are going to be finish problems or quality problems. But because the whole pen is a metal body, I don't expect to see a lot of those problems. So that's the overview of the pen. Let's do a little bit of writing. I'll show you how it writes, and then we will go ahead and finish up. So here we go. Okay, I use the pen posted. So let me post it, and we will get to writing. This is the Hero 3915 steel nib. And they, like many of the cheap manufacturers, they don't stamp their nibs with the nib sizes. So I believe this is a medium-ish nib. That's usually what I order if there's an option for that. The ink is J. Urban. It's their 1670 special edition. I think it's Blue Ocean. EU Ocean. This is the first time I've had this bottle of ink for almost a year, and I've never opened it up until I inked up this pen with it. And we are on Erodia.pad, as we always are. So the quote for today is, okay. So, in terms of wetness, this pen is not terribly wet. It's a little on the dry side, a little too dry for my tastes. Now, I hesitate to say it is exactly the pen. I have a feeling it is, because this is an ink I don't know very well. And that was my mistake. I shouldn't have inked it up with this to start off with. But this feels just a little drier than I would like. It is fairly smooth, however. I haven't done any adjustment to it. I haven't done any smoothing. I will probably do a touch. There's no scratchiness, there's no tooth to it, but there is just a little bit more feedback than I generally like. And in terms of line variation, let's see if I can coax any out here. A little tiny bit. Not very much, though. It's a fairly stiff nib, which is to be expected. Reverse writing, it actually writes quite nicely upside down. It's quite smooth, very, very fine. So this is a pen that seems to work pretty well upside down for reverse writing. Now, I don't know if you probably couldn't see it on the video, but the friction of the pen against my hand actually caused the top to pop off. This posts, but it doesn't post very securely. So you can't be flicking the pen around with the cap posted because it doesn't. There's nothing to keep it on there other than friction, and even that doesn't do a great job. But for the most part, it feels pretty well made, pretty nicely built. I like the look of it quite a bit, actually. I will probably in time swap out this number 5 nib to a stainless steel number 5 nib that I get from somewhere else, one that doesn't have the bicolor, because I think it'll look nicer and it will probably write better. If I don't do that, I will certainly smooth it and increase the wetness a little bit. But for the most part, despite the fact that it is a knockoff of a Parker pen, I actually like this pen. And for $10, it's really quite nice. I wish it didn't collect fingerprints so easily, but if you want a nice, shiny, blingy pen, sometimes fingerprints are what you have to deal with. So if you have any other questions or comments about the pen, please make sure to leave them on the video or go to penhabit.com, check out the extra photos, and leave them there. And we will see you here next time on The Pen Habit. Thank you for watching. Bye.